Welcome to Behind the Music, the Houston Chamber Choir's weekly podcast. I'm St. John Flynn.
This time we are talking to Joshua Chavira, who is a member of the alto section of the Houston Chamber Choir. Joshua, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you at the moment?
Right now I'm in my apartment downtown Houston. I'm actually a couple of blocks from my rehearsal space with the chamber choir, so it's very exciting.
So you've got no excuse for being late for rehearsal.
Exactly, no excuse.
And you and your family, etc., everybody is safe and well during the
They are safe and well, yes. They actually just moved to Vegas, and I got to see them during the pandemic for about a month, which was great to see them because it's a very hard time right now for all of us, and being with family is a wonderful thing.
How long ago did you join the Houston Chamber Choir?
So in August of 2018 was my first day of the chamber choir.
And I think one of the things that is so special about you is that you sing in the alto section because you are a countertenor. That is your voice type.
Yes.
How long ago did you realize that that was your Fach, to use the technical term, that was your voice type? You could be a tenor, you could be a baritone, you could be a bass, you could also be a countertenor.
Exactly. Well, I've always been able to sing very high, and I knew there was something special about my voice. And obviously we can tell that just by me speaking, I have a super high speaking voice. So I think that translated into my singing voice as well. And I've always just sung in the range of a countertenor, but that was just like my real voice. And it wasn't until I got to graduate school that I switched to countertenor, because they tried to pigeonhole me into being a tenor, because that's just the normal thing anyone would do really with a male. It's just, oh, you're a tenor because you have a high voice, but it's not really the case with some special people. But
yeah, that's the thing with countertenors, is it affects your choice of repertoire, doesn't it?
Oh yes, very greatly. I had to learn basically all new repertoire when I started countertenor.
Making that transition from being a tenor to a countertenor, did you feel like you'd come home? Did you feel like you'd arrived at the place where your voice felt its best?
Oh, absolutely. Even when I was training as a tenor in college, I would always like sneak into practice room and just like sing some high notes randomly, because like they felt better than like me singing my tenor voice. So as soon as I actually had the classification by my name as a countertenor, I felt so much better, like a world had opened up for me.
Is there a difference between a countertenor and somebody who sings falsetto?
There are different types of countertenors. I believe that I sing with more of approximation of the vocal folds than most countertenors do. A lot of countertenors are normally baritones or basses trained to sing with their falsetto. I don't believe that I sing in a falsetto. I believe I do sing with my full voice. So that's something that's a little different than most countertenors.
And is there a difference between a countertenor and a male soprano?
Yes, the range differs greatly. I wish I was a male soprano because I love the repertoire that they get to sing, but my classification does not allow that really.
So a male soprano, do they sing higher? They have a higher register?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's about like a third or fourth higher than what I would traditionally sing.
Within the choir, are you the only countertenor?
Yes. So among all the altos, I'm the only countertenor, and I actually do sing with Tammy and Kelly, which we went to school together, and we studied with the same teacher. So I think that's really exciting that I got to be trained by their teacher, and obviously they're wonderful musicians as well. So it's just a testament to how great I was taught by this teacher.
And you've been in the choir for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
What's that experience been like for you? Had you sung in an ensemble before?
Oh yeah, I've been a part of many ensembles, but never a professional group like this. This is, I guess, the pinnacle of what anyone would want to aspire to sing with. This is just a tremendous ensemble to sing with.
What is it that you like about being part of the ensemble? Obviously, you love singing. I assume that being part of the choir is more than just about singing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So with this group, everyone comes ready to work, and we all have our own ideas of what the music should be, but Bob helps us train it to where we are all on the same page. And once we get that, we are totally in sync every performance, and it's wonderful to be on stage with a group of musicians where you're not nervous if someone's going to mess up or anything. It's just you're there to sing and you're there to put on a great show.
How often does the choir rehearse?
We rehearse mostly every Monday, unless it's a holiday, and sometimes once a Saturday every month.
And what are those rehearsals like? You rehearse at the Christchurch Cathedral.
Yes, we do.
Downtown Houston. What are the rehearsals like?
They're pretty intense, but as expected with a professional choir, we all come with our music learned, and we are just not really note picking. We are getting the main idea of what the piece should be like in our minds and hearts, and just trying to meld it all together until we're one.
I would imagine that there are relatively few pieces in the choir's repertoire that demand a countertenor. Do you therefore feel that fulfilled, if you like, singing as part of the alto section? I know that's a horribly unfair question.
I think anything that I sing with this group, I feel wholly a part of, because I think what Bob looks for when he added me, he looks for color, and
Right.
I think that I added beautiful color to the section, and I never feel like there's not a piece that I sing that I shouldn't be a part of. I've always loved seeing everything that he picks, and he's a wonderful programmer. So Bob Simpson, our artistic director, he's amazing. So everything he picks, I feel like I'm lucky to be a part of.
Is he a hard taskmaster?
Oh, he's a taskmaster until the day he's gonna die. I mean, he's just like that, but that's why he's so fantastic, because we get stuff done, and we basically just get to the very nitty gritty bits at the very end before the concert, and then we're ready to go.
Since you've been with the choir, what are some of the your favorite pieces?
Oh, so Circle Song, a song that written by Bob Chilcott, which we just recorded for our latest album, is probably one of my favorite pieces. I never, ever had a dull moment singing that piece. Every piece, every note, I was in it, and I never waned from that. It was one of the best experiences I've ever gotten to do is work with Bob Chilcott, and then our director, Bob Simpson. They're both wonderful musicians, and I never had a dull moment singing that piece.
Of course, Bob Chilcott is one of the great vocal composers from Britain, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Tell us a little bit about Circle Song. What sort of piece is it?
So Circle Song is an idea that Bob Chilcott had. He gathered pieces from indigenous Native American tribes, and I guess told a story across the entire song cycle of these people. And it is truly wonderful to be a part of something like that, because they were here before we got here, and just to be a part of telling a story of Native Americans and is just something that I've always kind of wanted to do, because we don't really talk about much of them, and it's great to get the word out.
Do you sing in any other ensembles outside of the chamber choir?
I do actually sing with Bob Simpson at Christ Cathedral, which is fantastic because it's 2 blocks from me. So that's very fun. And I've gotten many experiences just being in that ensemble as well. We got to go to England, which was amazing this past summer when we sang in the cathedral in Salisbury and then the cathedral in Canterbury, which was amazing. They were both beautiful spaces. And then I sing with the Bach Society here in Houston as well with Rick Erickson, the artistic director there. And that's where I get to sing my Bach stuff and early music. So I don't ever lack getting to sing early music.
Is there more repertoire for countertenors in the Baroque era?
Oh yeah, that's basically where my bread and butter is the Baroque era for sure.
Do you have any countertenor heroes?
Yes, Philippe Jarouski was one of my first idols when I came into the countertenor world. I listened to a lot of his stuff. He's not necessarily what I am now. I thought I was going to be that type of countertenor, but he's more of a falsettist, and I use more of my full voice. So Andreas Scholl is kind of more the repertoire that I would sing, what he sings, but I use a little bit more of my full voice. So there's not really anyone that I've listened to that has kind of had a similar voice to me, which is kind of upsetting, but I mean, I guess I can kind of pioneer what I do a little bit.
Let's talk about how you came to music. Are you from a musical family?
Not really, actually, which is very weird. I've heard my parents kind of sing, and they have musical bones in their body, but they weren't musicians. But my parents joke, and they always say that I came out of the womb singing music. So it's just always been something that I've done, and I've never let go ever.
What sort of music did you listen to when you were growing up?
Oh my goodness. So my parents were huge 80s people. So Whitney Houston was actually one of my idols growing up. I sang Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, and I guess that's where my voice kind of stuck, kind of in that range. And I could belt when I was little. Belting's a little harder now because I have more of a classical technique, but it's always fun to go back to what I'm used to.
I think Whitney Houston had one of the most incredible voices, along with Aretha.
Yes. Oh God, they're all wonderful. And I kind of tried to emulate my technique to what they had when I was younger. So I guess some of it kind of stuck with me.
When did you start studying music?
I started studying music seriously when I first got to college. I didn't have a voice teacher in high school or anything like that. So when I first got to college is when I started taking music more seriously. And when you start college here in America, they normally train you classically. So that's when I first got into classical music, was in college.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Stephen F. Austin State University for my undergrad and my master's. Same as Cami and Callie, actually, we both have undergrad and masters from the same school.
Kelly Lawless and Cami Estelle.
Yes.
From the choir and from one of the earlier episodes of
yes.
the Music. So where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Anaheim, California. And then my parents both got jobs here in Houston, and we moved when I was 11. So that's when I actually started singing in choir, was when I moved here, because I didn't really have any friends when I moved here. So, and there was an announcement on my first day of school that said, "Hey, do you want to join choir?" And I was like, immediately, yes, I do. So on my lunch break, I actually went to the choir director and was like, I want to be in choir. So that was, I guess, my first taste of it, like singing choral music. And it was absolutely so much fun.
Did you know at that point that you had a good voice?
It wasn't until I joined choir in middle school, and my teacher saw something special in me. She was like, you can sing. So she gave me a lot of solo opportunities and things like that. And that's when I kind of knew, I was like, okay, I have a voice to sing. So I used it.
Now this was, presumably you were singing in the tenor range then?
Yes, definitely. But a lot of the tenors at that time could sing even higher. So we would have kind of competitions to see who could sing the highest.
Were you always the winner?
Always, actually. There was this one guy. He was one of my good friends at the time, and we would always like battle like who could sing the highest. He could actually sing a little higher than me, but it was falsetto for sure for him. But for me, I guess it was just belting.
That's one of the great countertenor, I guess, arguments is whether you're a true countertenor or whether you're just singing falsetto.
Exactly. It's always an argument, but it's all fun at the end of the day.
When you have been part of an ensemble, as you were, in middle school, high school, and in college as well, what has been your favorite type of music to sing, or favorite composers maybe?
I would always love to sing masterworks like the Fauré Requiem or Mozart's Requiem. I also love Frank Martin Mass, which is arguably one of my favorite pieces to ever sing. And I've only gotten to do it once. So hopefully, Bob Simpson, if you hear this, you should program that because it's gorgeous.
Frank Martin Mass.
Yeah. But I love to sing masterworks because the composers really put their thought and effort into that. Instead of just like writing a little piece for their church, they put more effort, I think, and it shows in the piece, and I love to sing them.
That's singing as part of an ensemble. Have you had much experience as a soloist?
As a soloist, I've had quite a few opportunities, not too much just because I'm newer to countertenor. But once I started as a countertenor, it's funny that you say solo opportunities because in college, my director, he was like, you can kind of sing high. We're going to do the Full Messiah coming up in the spring, and I would like you to do the alto solos for the Full Messiah. And I was elated. I couldn't believe my director was asking me to do that. But he wanted to do it with the practice of how it would have been performed. So we did a smaller ensemble, we hired Baroque musicians from Houston, and it was a great performance. So that was one of my first solo opportunities as a countertenor. And then they used me for Chichester Psalms for the boy solo, the Bernstein piece.
Right.
And then once I moved to Houston, I got some solo opportunities with the Bach Society here, and just little solo opportunities here and then with Bob Simpson and the chamber choir.
What's the difference for you between singing as a soloist and singing as part of an ensemble?
With an ensemble, you kind of have people to fall back on just in case you flub up, but when you're a soloist, it's all you. There's nothing, no holds barred. You just got to go for it, and you have to know your stuff for sure. But I mean, I always learn my stuff for singing with the choir because I don't like to be the weak link. I love to be a leader in an ensemble, which all of us are leaders in the chamber choir. We just come prepared, and it's amazing to work with musicians like that.
You're also a teacher.
Yes. So I just got a job teaching elementary music, which is something I didn't think I would be doing, actually. So I got my undergrad in music education, and I went in with that with the goal of wanting to be a choir director at the high school level. But once I student taught at the end of my degree, I loved teaching the kids. And because they're smiling faces when they come in, they're just like ready to learn. And my personality jives so well with the little ones. So I'm really excited to start this new journey. I'll be teaching pre-K through 5, 5th grade. So the very little ones to the almost middle schoolers.
Which school district?
In Spring ISD, and that's where actually I went to school in Spring ISD. So it's a full circle for me.
It's so good to see somebody who is so excited about teaching within the public school system. And I would be petrified having to go into a class of, I don't know, 7-year-olds or something. But you thrive on that.
Yes, I'm really excited. The only thing I'm nervous about is the aspect of teaching online during this pandemic. So we're going to be starting the first month of school online, and that kind of terrifies me because it's new territory for everyone, and I don't really have much assistance, but I'll do the best that I can online. And then once we can get back into class, I know what to do from there.
Yeah. Has your teacher training had any online component in terms of learning how to teach online, learning different pedagogical methods, etc.?
They've been working, my district has been working all summer with like workshops. So we're going to get those coming up. And we've done a couple of trainings with just normal teachers training online. So that's kind of gotten us the hang of what we're going to be using with Google Hangouts. So we're a Google district. So that'll be more familiar to me since we've done it a couple of times before. But we'll have more trainings coming up before school starts.
So presumably the students that you'll be teaching them to read music right from the get-go. I mean, they will have no formal training prior to coming to you.
Some of them, yeah. With the little ones, we're going to do more of basic theory and then reading and dancing and just trying to get them to tap a steady beat and things like that. So very basic stuff. With the older kids, they've had some prior music training with the teacher before me. So it'll just differ greatly and depend on what they've had before.
So you'll be proselytizing.
Yes.
Get them while they're young.
Exactly.
I wonder, as a countertenor, have you had much experience with opera, with Baroque opera, for example?
I've worked on some roles, but I haven't been in a Baroque opera. It's definitely one of my goals for later, maybe in the next 5 years, to try to prepare something and hopefully travel to Europe to sing something. My summers are free as a teacher, and I have some connections with people in Italy, so hopefully I can sing a few, even if it's just a role, like half a role or a couple of arias in a masterclass, something like that would be amazing.
I'm going to ask you a personal question now. As countertenors get older and their voices change, do they change? Do you have to come down to the tenor range?
I think once that happens, I'll just slowly back away from performing. I don't really want to do like a Placido Domingo where he was a tenor and then he moved down to baritone. I think I'll just gracefully bow out of performing, but I'll always be a part of the music community in some form or fashion.
Right. And what are your aspirations? How do you want to see your singing life develop?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always had the goal of just perform in as many countries as possible. So I've gotten a lot of choral opportunities to perform. When I was in school, I performed in Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic, Italy. I performed in the Vatican with choirs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite memories is singing in the Vatican. So I performed in a few countries. I would love to expand that. I have friends I met at a summer program a few years ago in Italy who are from Japan, and I would love to sing with their Bach Society, maybe in the summertime when they do fun little performances. But it'd be my goal to just travel the world and sing.
The places you mention, like the Vatican, for example, also Salisbury Cathedral, Canterbury Cathedral, are these huge ecclesiastical spaces, and there's something very mystical about singing in that environment. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yes, every time I sing in a space like that, I get chills and immediately just start smiling. It's definitely a happy place for me, is singing in a space of positivity with people who love to sing.
You sing with the Bach Society here in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that you love the music of Johann Sebastian Bach.
Oh yes, definitely one of my favorites. Anywhere from his oratorios, cantatas, a lot of the solo works he's written. I even love listening to his organ works. Our organist at Christ Cathedral plays Bach all the time, and I love getting to hear that prelude or postlude in the morning. It's always wonderful to hear Bach.
What is it about Bach's music that attracts you so much?
I've heard many interviews on NPR, and they describe it as something that is just very complex. And I love the complexity of his music. The fugues that are written just go on forever, and I love getting to figure out where it's going and how to translate that into my own voice. He's definitely one of the hardest composers for the voice, just because it's not the most natural to sing, but once you get it down, it's something that you can't stop singing.
What about his harmonies?
Oh, the harmonies are just fabulous whenever he adds harpsichord or organ in the bottom, and especially when a soloist has to sing the aria, something changes from the chorus to the aria in mood, and he sets mood very well for solo performers, and that's always something that I look for in the composers that I love. Is do they have a mood of a piece, or is it just set through the text? And Bach sets text very well too. So Bach is honestly one of my favorite composers, just because he's wonderful at that.
You've sung some Bach solos.
Yes, definitely.
Is there one that you could sing a few bars of right now, just to give us a sense of your voice? I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize for that, but it would be lovely to hear you.
Yes, so Estudiantes from the Bach Magnificat, I sang that in college. I could try and sing a few bars.
Mm-hmm.
Estudiantes simpleris, estudiantes simpleris.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
You mentioned that your first sort of really intensive musical training, vocal training, was when you went to college.
Yes.
Do you remember what it is that you learned that was so fundamentally different from how you had been singing before, that has sort of opened up all these tremendous vistas for you?
Yes, so in college, mainly just every lesson we talk about is the vowel that you sing on. So a, e, I, o, u, and you're looking for the most pure vowel on every single note that you sing. And that's one of the biggest things that I look for, is having every vowel rounded, and just singing with the purest tone that you can sing with. And you get to that purity with the vowel. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I still struggle with it, and something every singer will struggle with till the day they die, but you constantly get better and constantly change minute things in your voice through the vowel.
So when you're at home, you have to study the scores that you're singing.
Oh,
so
yes.
presumably you spend a lot of time in your apartment or your house singing on your own.
Oh yes, definitely. I sing every day, multiple times a day, just checking a certain piece that I remember. I'm like, oh, I had trouble in that spot. Let's see if I can figure out what this is. And once you get to a point in your technique to where you feel more proficient, you don't have to sing the full piece every single time. You can just pick out certain hard parts of a piece, and then once you have those parts down, you can sing the entire piece. and it's fun.
I used to live a few years ago next door to two of the members of the Houston Grand Opera studio.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a tenor and a soprano. They were an item, and I could often hear them practicing because the sound would come through. I see at your AC ducts behind you.
Yes.
And their voices would come through the duct. I mean, it was wonderful, you know, just to be able to hear that. But do you sing in the shower?
Oh, I sing in the shower, in the kitchen, in my bedroom, wherever. I try to keep it during the day, not at night, really, when most people are sleeping. But I try to be respectful of other people's times.
And what's your shower repertoire? Does it vary from your professional repertoire?
Oh, yes. I sing Whitney. I sing anything like Mariah Carey, like I mentioned, Carrie Underwood. It varies greatly by the day, but I always go back to my own personal repertoire that I sing.
Do you like to sing karaoke?
I hate singing karaoke. It makes me so nervous.
Why? That's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not something that I practice every day, pop music. But I mean, I can pop out an aria anytime you want, but
Right.
karaoke is a lot more different just because you don't sing that every day. So
They don't have a huge aria repertoire in the karaoke bars, do they?
no, I know there's some bars that you probably could do that, but I don't really want to seek that out.
Do you have a sort of a go-to karaoke song?
It's actually Whitney Houston's song, I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorites.
Do you ever think that you'll get to sing that professionally?
No, never, never. I don't want to sing it professionally.
As a countertenor, do you feel special? I don't know if that's the right word, but you're a rare commodity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that people view you differently because you're a countertenor rather than I was going to say just a tenor, as though, you know, they're tenor penny. I don't mean it like that. But, obviously, tenors are more common than countertenors.
Yes.
Do you feel special in an ensemble?
I do, but only because I was bullied throughout school for having a super high voice. But once
Speaking voice.
Yes, my speaking voice. I never really liked to show my high voice to other than people like that I was singing with, because I was bullied for having a high speaking voice. So if I had a high singing voice, well, I'd get double bullied. But now that I'm in the realm where people actually find it cool or find it interesting, I do feel a little more special now. But when I was going through school, it was pretty rough. I will say that. But once I got to college, it was fine. People were like, "Oh my God, you can sing high. That's really cool."
Is there countertenor repertoire that you are sort of chomping at the bit to sing that you haven't so far?
There's a lot of Bach stuff that I still can't sing because it's pretty hard, and I need to work with a teacher to figure out the bits that I can't figure out myself. I would love to sing Vernichte Ruhe, which is from Bach cantata. It's one of my favorite pieces to listen to. The lines are just so sustained, and I don't know if I should add vibrato here or take it away. I just need more work with a coach just to figure out what the intent of the composer was. And I want to sing it the most authentically that I can. So I need a little bit more work with that.
I think that's one thing that people might be surprised to realize about professional singers is that once their schooling has ended and they've begun their performing lives, that they do often continue to work with a vocal coach.
Oh yes, definitely. Vocal coaches and voice teachers. we always constantly need tweaking. If we fall out of a certain pattern with our vocal technique, our teachers can help us fix it and get back on track. So I will be a student for life, honestly.
And tell me, as we end, tell me what repertoire you're working on at the moment with the chamber choir.
With the chamber choir right now, we're actually going to be recording a piece on kind of like Zoom, but just videoing ourselves. We're going to be doing a Daniel Naggs piece. He's a local performer, or a local composer here in Houston, and we're going to be recording that to premiere online. We performed it at the beginning of the season, and the piece is titled "To Everything There Is a Season," and we think it'd be a perfect piece to kind of roll out during the pandemic when people need something to hold on to or a little hope. So we think it'd be great to sing, and we're going to roll it out hopefully in the next couple of months.
And your rehearsals during the pandemic, have they been via Zoom?
No, we haven't really had rehearsals because our normal schedule, where we have summer off, we begin back in August. So this is going to be something in addition to that.
It must be difficult when you're so much of what is so special to you, which is singing as part of these ensembles, that goes away. It must be difficult. How do you fill that time? How do you fill that place in your heart and soul, if you like?
I just try to sing as much as I can here at home, and I guess during this pandemic, I've been I've moved. I fill my time with trying to learn as much as I can to teach my own classroom. So there's definitely always something you can do to fill your time.
Look, Josh, we appreciate you taking the time to tell us about your singing life and the countertenor voice, which I think a lot of people, still need to learn about. Best wishes for the upcoming school year. Best wishes for the upcoming Houston Chamber Choir season. Stay safe, and thank you very much for taking the time to talk.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a true pleasure.
And thank you to everybody who supports the Houston Chamber Choir, the patrons and sponsors. And thank you to you for tuning in. And I hope that you'll tune in again next time. I'm St. John Flynn. Bye-bye.
Houston Chamber Choirs with One Accord is your one-stop shop to choral joy. Help us to continue our mission to grow the esteem and appreciation of choral music by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to our content. Visit us at houstonchamberchoir.org.